He revealed the Sheng Ling Jiao's hierarchy, a Holy Spirit cult that feeds on suffering like wolves. At the top sat the Supreme Patriarch Zi Shen Douluo, a name so heavy it could freeze conversation in the mouths of hardened killers. Below stood cult leader Zhong Liwu and vice leader Feng Ling, cold as steel, patient as poison, and sharper than the smiles they wore. Welcome back to 3D Cartoon Review, my friends, where soul rings roar like thunder and a single secret can decide who lives to see tomorrow. Today we enter Douluo Dalu 2, episode 138, and the air itself whispers a warning. Inside enemy lines, one wrong breath becomes your last. Before we dive deeper, make sure you're subscribed, because this episode is pure suspense, slow footsteps, sharp stares, and a rescue that can fail in one blink. Last episode ended in violent silence, as Huo Yuhao and Song Lao crushed Yanwu Dulu and tore victory from the battlefield's smoking ground. Shattered earth steamed under fading light, and the wind carried iron, ash, and that strange emptiness that follows a fight you barely survive. They captured Nangong Wan alive, an elder who once wore arrogance like armor and mocked fear as if it were a child's bedtime story. But under Song Lao's calm pressure, his pride fractured, and his eyes began searching for mercy in a world that had never offered any. Song Lao's aura pressed down like a mountain, steady and merciless, peeling away defenses until Nangong Wan's spirit trembled on the edge of collapse. Nangong Wan's lips quivered, and you could almost hear his pride screaming inside, yet fear forced truth out of him, drop by painful drop. He understood quickly, death is fast, but losing cultivation is slow, and a titled Douluo fears slow ruin more than any blade. So Nangong Wan spoke, and each confession sounded like coins thrown onto the ground to buy one more breath of future survival. He revealed the Sheng Ling Jiao's hierarchy, a Holy Spirit cult that feeds on suffering like wolves. At the top sat the Supreme Patriarch Zi Shen Douluo, a name so heavy it could freeze conversation in the mouths of hardened killers. Below stood cult leader Zhong Liwu and vice leader Feng Ling, cold as steel, patient as poison, and sharper than the smiles they wore. Then came the Gongfeng Tang, the consecration hall, and beneath it, the Bada Zhanglao, 8 elders whose authority could crush cities into silence. Nangong Wan's voice shook as he continued, because even confessing carries danger, yet he had already stepped off the cliff and couldn't climb back. Finally, he delivered the truth Huo Yuhao needed most. Tang Ya was inside the Riyue Diguo frontline command camp, held close to the core. If you're watching, pause and feel that weight. Because to Huo Yuhao, it wasn't intelligence, it was the sound of a friend drowning in darkness. Tang Ya had become the Lan Yin Sheng Nü, the blue Silver Saintess, a glittering title that hid chains and turned a living person into a tool. Huo Yuhao remembered her warmth, and the thought of her smiling eyes being replaced by emptiness tightened his chest like a fist closing slowly. Then Nangong Wan added a second dagger. The third elder and fourth elder were also in camp, tied to Wang Quer's tragic sacrifice. Grief surged into rage surged into killing intent, and for one heartbeat, Huo Yuhao's aura sharpened enough to make even the air flinch. But he forced it down, because inside enemy territory emotion is a lantern, and lanterns attract blades that strike without warning or regret. Song Lao and the others tried to stop him, warning this was no raid but a tiger's den packed with super-level hunters and hidden traps. Huo Yuhao answered with iron calm. If he hesitated, Tang Ya would be lost forever, and rescue never waits for comfort or perfect timing. If you've ever chased a shrinking chance, you understand him. This wasn't glory, it was necessity, the stubborn refusal to abandon someone twice. He chose infiltration, the kind of plan that makes legends when it works, and graves when it fails, because here failure has no gentle price. To step inside, he needed a face the enemy trusted and a spiritual rhythm that smelled like the cult's own familiar poison. He activated Mofang, and bones, breath, and aura reshaped with terrifying precision until he became Jiamian Douluo, the masked Douluo. The transformation wasn't only skin deep, the sinister pressure rolled off him like cold smoke, heavy enough to make normal soldiers avert their eyes. Every detail was copied. The arrogant tilt of the chin, the lazy cruelty in the gaze, the careless confidence in each measured step. Song Lao tested him with spiritual probing, and even that sharp perception slid away, fooled by a disguise built from discipline and desperation. He even adjusted his soul power flow, letting it pulse in Jiamian's familiar rhythm, because experts don't just recognize faces, they recognize spiritual footsteps. Remember this, friends, sometimes the hardest acting isn't pretending to be evil, but hiding the human heart that refuses to die. Then he opened Wangling Jimen, the gate of the undead, and winter-cold air spilled out like fog from a grave. One by one, Song Lao's team stepped into the Wangling Banwei Mian, the undead demiplane vanishing into a hidden world of silence. Huo Yuhao became a bridge between realms, one man above ground, an entire force waiting beyond a door made of darkness and trust. If you're still with me, type mask in the comments, because from here on, every sentence he speaks can expose him or save Tang Ya. With Nangong Wan beside him, he returned to Riyue Camp, where banners snapped and patrols moved like clockwork gears in a cold machine. Lanterns swayed in the wind, and the distant hum of Hun Dao Qi echoed like an iron beast breathing in its sleep. Inside the command tent, Zhong Liwu's anger was a whip, and Commander Lin Hai stood rigid beneath it. Zhong Liwu blamed him for losing the enemy's trail, voice rising and falling, while everyone listened for the moment blood would be demanded. When Nangong Wan and Jiamian entered, conversation died instantly. Dozens of eyes turned, measuring their worth like wolves evaluating prey in snow. Nangong Wan spoke first, smooth and practiced, delivering a lie shaped like an official report, confident enough to sound like truth. He claimed they encountered a Shilai Ke Super Douluo and withdrew to preserve strength, avoiding a clash that could ruin the front line. Then he dropped a name like a stone into still water. Yan Shaoje, a reputation too sharp to ignore even for sworn enemies. Zhong Liwu's expression tightened, because fear forces caution into the proudest hearts, and even the cult respects power it cannot easily kill. Suspicion shifted into calculation, and calculation into cold acceptance. Zhong Liwu allowed the explanation, but his vigilance only grew sharper. Huo Yuhao kept his gaze dull and cruel, copying Jiamian's habits with precision, walking as if fear had never existed in him. Here, fear is a scent, and once they smell it, they start sharpening knives, so he let arrogance cover his heartbeat like armor. They turned to leave, and for 1 second, he believed the danger had passed, until Zhong Liwu's stare pinned him in place. That gaze felt like needles sewing through his soul, searching for a stitch out of place. Huo Yuhao steadied his breath and waited. Zhong Liwu only warned coldly, "Stop chasing women and focus on cultivation." Huo Yuhao bowed with perfect arrogance and slipped away alive, allowing a silent exhale only after the tent flap fell behind him. Back in Jiamian's tent, sweet rotten perfume hung in the air, mixed with wine and medicinal herbs that couldn't hide human suffering. Two beautiful young women approached, eyes empty and unfocused, drug-controlled servants, offered like disposable gifts to satisfy a monster's appetite. Disgust twisted his gut, but he could not show it. In Jiamian's coldest voice he snapped, "Get out, I don't need you." The girls stumbled away obediently, and Huo Yuhao felt the chill of casual cruelty. Here people were tools, and tools were thrown away. He cleaned the space as best he could, then raised a mental barrier, layering spiritual power, until even whispers sounded far away. Only then did he open the Wangling Jimen again, quietly signaling safety to Song Lao and the others waiting beyond the veil. Now came reconnaissance inside a fortress of detection. Huo Yuhao condensed his mental form and slipped into darkness like a thought. The camp was a machine. Watchtowers, formation nodes, lantern lines, and spiritual threads crisscrossed the ground like an invisible tightening net. His target was the soul-guided weapon positions, the Hun Dao Qi arrays that could create chaos and cover a rescue in one violent breath. But the closer he got, the more hope thinned, because the defenses were tighter than he imagined, layered like scales on a dragon. 5 weapon formations were shielded by dense detection webs, and their arrays were linked like living nerves across the ground beneath his feet. One wrong touch would trigger alarms, seal exits, and summon titled Douluo attention before he could blink twice, ending the rescue instantly. So the stealth approach died there, swallowed by paranoia and engineering. He retreated, mind-racing, and chose authority instead of stealth. He ordered Nangong Wan to legalize access, using elder status to secure an official inspection command that would open doors legally. Nangong Wan nodded too quickly, because obedience was his currency now, and every cooperative moment pushed death one step farther away. That night, Nangong Wan returned pale but eager, announcing he obtained a patrol order allowing them to inspect weapon positions the next afternoon. He marked every formation node in his mind, like memorizing a minefield, telling himself one safe path, one clean spark, and Tang Ya might breathe again. If you feel the tension building, hit like and stay close, because when a fortress invites you inside, it's never kindness, it's risk. Morning arrived thin and cold, and Huo Yuhao moved through the dining area where laughter sounded sharp, hungry, and cruelly relaxed. Bowls clinked, boots scraped, and every conversation carried smug arrogance, as if fear were a resource to spend, not a warning to respect. There he met the third elder tied to Wang Quer's sacrifice, and the sight ignited a storm behind Huo Yuhao's carefully masked eyes. The elder smirked and mocked him for dismissing concubines, treating broken lives like a joke shared over breakfast and cheap wine. Huo Yuhao buried hatred under Jiamian's mask and struck back with controlled venom, exposing the third elder's secret of imprisoning Nan Shuishui. Laughter died, because shame is loud when it's true. The third elder's face tightened. Huo Yuhao walked on with steady breathing, because revenge must wait when rescue hangs by a single thread stretched over an abyss. Then he saw Tang Ya, black-clad stillness, the Lan Yin Sheng Nü, beautiful like a frozen flower, hollow where warmth should live. Her pupils were ash-gray, her aura icy and inhuman, and her cultivation carried the heavy pressure of a Hun Douluo, forced upward by darkness. This was worse than death. A living body turned into a weapon wearing a friend's face, and Huo Yuhao felt his chest lock tight. For a heartbeat, he wanted to call her name, to shake her awake, but he bit the urge back. One soft syllable could summon death from every corner. He tried to pass without provoking her instincts, but Tang Ya stepped forward and blocked his path, staring as if hearing a distant echo. Her voice was cold and flat, yet the words struck like a blade. "Seventh Elder, your aura seems to have changed." Huo Yuhao's blood ran colder than the morning air. She stared, listening, then added, "Less hateful, even familiar, not like before. If your heart jumped, you're not alone," because his disguise hung by a single thread, and that thread was being pulled gently but surely. Somewhere inside her, something still recognized him, and that faint recognition was both hope and danger in the same trembling breath. Then salvation arrived as Zhong Liwu approached through the crowd, his presence cutting a path as if the world owed him space. He saw Tang Ya speaking with Jiamian and assumed she still resented being frightened by his martial soul in the past. Zhong Liwu clasped Tang Ya's hand with possessive intimacy, then barked at Huo Yuhao to leave, voice loud enough to end the moment. "Don't come here anymore," he ordered. "Lan Yin Sheng Nü sees you, and she won't want to eat." Control disguised as concern. To Huo Yuhao, it was a pardon. He bowed, retreated, and escaped the cliff edge without letting his eyes reveal the panic pounding inside. Back in the tent, he forced his breathing to slow, then slower, until his heartbeat matched the calm mask of Jiamian Douluo. Panic is a scent veteran monsters can smell. He sat still, rehearsing cruelty in his face, while the human heart fought to stay hidden. He replayed Tang Ya's words again and again, hearing the danger between syllables, if she sensed less hate. So he tightened control, reviewed the inspection order, mapped routes, counted patrol cycles, and measured how long chaos would need to last. The inspection was not the goal. It was the spark, the single moment when order could become confusion, and confusion could become rescue. Nangong Wan arrived to escort him, acting like a loyal elder, rather than a terrified captive. Together they stepped out, joining several Si Hunshi, and walked toward the weapon positions under official supervision and watchful eyes. So friends, keep your eyes on Nangong Wan too. Will he truly cooperate, or will desperation twist him into betrayal at the most fatal moment? With every step the camp felt tighter, as if the earth were listening for a wrong heartbeat, yet Huo Yuhao kept walking anyway. Because beyond that inspection lay their first real chance to reach Tang Ya, break her chains, and drag her back into the light. And that is where episode 138 ends. A breath before chaos, a door about to open, a knife about to fall inside the enemy's core. Tell me below, can Huo Yuhao keep the mask on, or will Tang Ya's instincts rip it away at the worst possible time? Thanks for watching 3D Cartoon Review. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and stay close, because the moment inspection begins, the storm truly starts.